Metzada. Metzada is located near the Dead Sea and in the middle of the Jordan Desert. Metzada is an amazing place that have a great view over the Dead Sea and the desert. But more than the great view that you can see over that have a great view over the Dead Sea. The height of the Metzada mountain is almost as high as the Liberty statue in New York. Metzada, also known not because of the great places that you can see and the amazing nature that there is there. Metzada is actually known because of a tragic and heroic story that has happened there almost 2,000 years ago, when the Jewish fight against the big and huge Roman emperor. The story is about a resistance and a strength and a believing God that all the Jews that was lived in Metzada was really lived to die for. Have a look about a great place that's called Metzada, I want to dive in to the story. And in this next video, we're going to learn about what happened there almost 2,000 years ago, when the Jewish revival fight against the Roman Empire till the death.
2,000 years ago, the desert fortress Masada witnessed the tragic end of the first Jewish war against the Romans. The remnants of the battle remain for archaeologists to discover. Burnt wooden beams, arrowheads, sling stones, and ballista balls strewn in the ground, and a massive siege ramp built by the Roman engineers of the 10th Legion. But it's the chilling account from the historian Josephus that has sealed Masada's place in history. With certain defeat looming over them, the Judean rebels chose to die on their own terms rather than face capture by the Romans, killing themselves in a mass suicide. Men, women, and children. This event looms large in the cultural memory of the Jewish people, and it's even solidified in the national consciousness of the state of Israel today, as soldiers from the Israeli Defense Force have historically taken part in a swearing-in ceremony at Masada, reciting a slogan made famous by an Israeli poet: Masada shall never fall again. But what really happened here at Masada in the early 70s CE, and does the archaeological records support Josephus' account of the events? Masada was built as a getaway palace fortress by Herod the Great, the famously brutal king of Judea and a client to the Roman Empire. And he wasn't messing around. Located on a high plateau overlooking the Dead Sea, Masada is an extremely defensible position. Steep cliffs on all sides makes it almost impossible to attack. To approach, you need to hike up a winding trail called the Snake Path, which visitors can still use today. I'm in reasonably good shape, and this hike exhausted me. Now, imagine trying to march up this same path in legionnaire armor, shield, and weapons, with defenders chucking stones down at you. Yeah, no thank you. A network of water cisterns was engineered to catch rain to supply the fortress with water. Dwelling spaces were built directly into the wall and could be filled with rubble to reinforce it during the siege. And never a man to skimp on the niceties of Roman lifestyle, Herod also built an insanely impressive palace on a series of terraces on the north side of the mountain. But this story is not about Herod. Masada is most famous for the event that occurred 75 years after his death, as the site of the Jewish rebellion's last stand against the Roman invaders. Now, Judea had long been under Roman rule, but in the late 60s CE, the population revolted, leading to the devastating sack of Jerusalem in the year 70, when the Romans destroyed the Second Jewish Temple. A rebel force under the command of Eleazar ben Yair held out at Masada for several more years until the 10th Roman Legion attacked it during the winter of 72 or 73 CE. All of our data about the siege of Masada comes from two sources: archaeological data, and the historian Josephus in Book 7, Chapters 8 and 9 of his account, The Jewish War. The archaeological evidence in particular is indispensable for what it tells us about Roman war tactics. Even today, you can see the remnants of the siege, in what the archaeologist Gwyn Davies calls the most complete surviving siege system of the ancient world. It includes a series of encampments built around the plateau. Here's one, here's another, and another. 8 camps in all, where the Roman soldiers and field engineers lived during the siege. When I visited the site, I couldn't help but imagine what it would have been like to be a Judean defender of this fortress. Sure, you're perched up way up high in a super defensible position, but you're looking down at a bunch of Roman camps filled with legionnaires. This must have been a blow to anyone's morale as you watch a professional army go about their daily preparations to try to kill you. But the most impressive feature is probably the Roman siege ramp, still visible on the western side of the plateau. Since it was nearly impossible to march in formation up the Snake Path, and since the rebels were well supplied with both food and water, the Romans must have decided it would be easier to build their own artificial road to get soldiers and siege machinery up to the wall itself for a full frontal assault. And that's exactly what they did. The Roman engineers piled up earth to the wall, built an ironclad siege tower 30 meters tall, at least according to Josephus, and topped it with a battering ram. But, according to Josephus, the siege came to a bitter and unexpected end. He reports that after the Romans had battered through the wall and a full-scale invasion of the fortress appeared imminent, the Jewish commander Eleazar convinced his men to commit mass suicide in order to avoid capture. But rather than kill themselves and their wives and children individually, the men drew lots to designate 10 among them to kill everyone else. After this, these 10 men drew lots again to choose one man to kill the other 9, leaving only one to kill himself. So, for what it's worth, technically only one person killed himself, according to Josephus. When the Romans finally overtook the fortress, they found everyone dead, except for a handful of women and children who had hid themselves in a cave. Today, Masada is the most visited tourist site in Israel. And I'm not surprised. It's amazing. You can stargaze there, you can ride a cool cable car up to the top to skip the ridiculously tiring snake path, and you can look out over the Dead Sea for an impressive desert panorama.
So as you know, today is an independent day, Yom Ha'atzmaut in Israel. So now, in the end of the video, I want to talk to you about the connection that Masada had to the Israel government and Eretz Israel and Am Yisrael. Before that the Israel was established, there still was Jewish people who lived in Eretz Israel, alright? And during the time of the Holocaust, there was a real afraid that they're going to die also from the Nazis in Europe, because the Nazis was very close to Israel, and they have a huge fight in Egypt. Eventually they lost the fight, but still the Israeli that lived in Israel during the time of the Holocaust has a plan that was similar to Masada. It's called Masada II. and they have an idea to build something similar to Metzada in the Carmel near Haifa, and to gather all the Jewish people to the same spot, and then to fight there till death, because it was sure that it is possible that the Nazis going to won the fight in Egypt and to kill all the Jewish people. Eventually, the British won the fight in Battle against the Nazis, and the Jewish people who was living in Palestine was free to live. So because of this story, we have a known sentence in Hebrew that says Metzada lo tipol shut. It means that Metzada will not fall again. And it's talking about that the Jewish people have to fight for themselves and to keep themselves alive, like we have in the Independent Day and in the Independent War. So that's why we see some of the units in the army, in the youth. Some army doing the ceremony of becoming a soldier in this place in